I'm going to talk about tequila the way, the old-fashioned way of making tequila. This is pre-1880, and not many people do this at all. There is a small, tiny revolution or a small movement to make tequila this old-fashioned way, the pre-1880 way. See, in 1880, tequila was a chosen one. They were the ones that went commercial. They were the ones that got all the recognition. It's sort of like cognac versus Armagnac, right? In the U.S., we import 5 million cases of cognac and only 150,000 cases of Armagnac. So Armagnac got pushed to the side. Cognac's the one that went, it was the one that gained popularity, gained production, increased production. The big brands came about. The same thing happened in the tequila world, in the agave spirit world. Tequila was the chosen one over the other agave spirits like mezcal, sotol, bacanora, and raicilla too. Raicilla just became legal, in fact, in 2009. These are some of the other agave-based spirits. So the other agave-based spirits are very old-fashioned, and they're made in a much more primitive way. Tequila, because of this industrial revolution, moved cooking the agave pit, the heads, the piñas. They took from these big heads, and instead of burying them in the ground like they do with all the other Mexican spirits, they started cooking them above the ground. They built above-ground ovens, which allowed them to produce quicker and more efficient tequila. And no smoke. When it's in the ground, there's some smoke to it because there's some direct contact with the heat and the smoke, as opposed to an oven. It gets, smoke never makes it into the oven. So then, what happens here is, then several decades later, tequila goes through another revolution, industrial revolution, where they're now using the steamer, the autoclave, which looks like a big jet engine. They throw them in there and close it up and do a high pressure steam, and within a day, and a low pressure steam it takes a couple days. So then you have the claves, the steamers that come in. Then in the 90s, tequila then experiences one more industrial revolution, and they go to what's called a diffuser. The diffuser is a way of doing hydrochloric acid. You shred the tequila, the agave. Hydrochloric acid is called hydrolysis, acid hydrolysis. But they're basically dipping in hydrochloric acid. They're dropping out all the nectar. Then they're cooking it afterwards. So it's kind of a reverse process of how the other ones are done. So the other ones are done, but you cook the agave first, then you shred it. So those are the 3 steps that tequila's gone through in the way. And now there's a couple tequila makers that are out there, and they're saying, you know what? That the pre-1880 way, is our roots, and nobody's doing this out of the market. So up stepped a couple of brands, and I only know about 4 or 5, maybe 5 brands that are doing tequila like this. So the one that we have here at the restaurant is the Sembrevales. This is David Searle's brand from the tequila restaurant in Philadelphia. I think it's Tequila's 215 or something. He has a great Mexican restaurant there, great tequila selection or agave spirit selection. So he came out with his own brand, Sembrevales, and I've met him at some trade tastings. And so this one right here is his modernized version, but this is oven roasted. It's Tohono real ground. It's like the first. It's like after the first industrial revolution, the first production revolution of tequila. This is what this is. So this is an older style method. It's still done today by a lot of other people, but a lot of people like to do the clav, and now they're doing this hydrochloric acid bath, which is not good at all. So David brought this up and is doing this, and really awesome smooth tequila, very highly rated. So David's like, well, maybe we need to go back to our roots of pre-1880 and make what's called Ancestral. See that logo up there, Ancestral? When you see the word Ancestral on mezcal, it's actually the grade of the mezcal. That's the grade of the method that they're making the mezcal or the agave spirit. So Ancestral is an important term to look for. When you're looking on mezcals, you'll see a lot of times it says artisanal, and that's one of the grades. That's one of the production methods and how it's graded. So Ancestral is the oldest form, the oldest method of making tequila. Ancestral is where they dig a hole, they throw the agave heads in it, and they cook it for up to a week. Slow, it gets smoked like mezcal. This isn't as smoky as mezcal. It gets smoked like mezcal, very similar to that. and it cooks. And then, now here's the difference in the Ancestral version. These, by the way, this is an expensive bottle. These are, well, if you bought an Ancestral tequila from Siempre Vales, you're probably paying, I don't know, 140 bucks retail, something like that. Maybe you can get it for 120, maybe, but 130, 140. And so the Ancestral version of tequila, the definition of it is, so they roast it in the ground, they extract it from the pit, and then they take wooden mallets, wooden bats, and pound the agave nectar from the roasted agave, from the piñas. So they sit there and they pound and pound and pound away, and they extract it. It's literally the oldest version of making tequila. And in mezcal, they still do that too. So whenever you see the word Ancestral on a label, on a bottle of tequila or mezcal, that's the legal definition, is oven roasted, and then pounded with a wooden bat. Now, in the mezcal world, to have Ancestral on the label, they actually have to distill it in a clay pot, in a clay still, which is very tricky to do. They break, they lose production, but that is the very old method, the Ancestral method of making mezcal. I'm not sure if that falls true to tequila as well, if they can do it in a copper or they can do it in a clay. I'll have to look that up. So this is really cool because on Siempre Vales, the bottom of the bottle says, "The future of tradition, celebrating historical flavors." So they really do a great job on the bottom, little tagline explaining what this is. So this is really, really cool stuff. This is like still strength. So this is like 57% as opposed to like 40% on the other ones. So this has a lot of heat to it. You drop a couple cubes in it, you swirl it around, and you sip it and you enjoy it. This is the Ancestral version of tequila. Now there are a couple other brands that are doing Ancestral. Patron is one of them. Patron, don't go into the website to pick up a bottle of Patron and be like, oh, this is the real deal pre-1880 method. It's a separate line that they make. It's well over $100 a bottle again. Because again, you literally have people there pounding with a baseball bat instead of a mule pulling a Tohono wheel or an electrical Tohono wheel. And in the other ways of tequila, through these industrial revolutions they went through, they went from a Tohono wheel to a shredder to a roller mill where everything's just done mechanically, and the agave is just put on an assembly line, and put on an assembly line, and all the agave cooked agave goes in and just shredded and pulverized all mechanically, as opposed to this Tohono wheel pulling it around. I know there's a lot to know on tequila. It's really fascinating spirit. Tequila has taken over, the agave spirits have taken over the bourbon whiskeys, sales-wise here in the U.S. Dollar for dollar, there's more agave spirits sold than whiskeys here in the U.S., believe it or not. And they're saying by the end of 2023 that the agave spirits is going to take over, surpass sales of vodkas. So this is definitely, if you own a restaurant or in the profession, tequila in agave-based spirits is something definitely to learn and know and to represent on your bar. And there's a lot of people that are consuming these products. And every time we get a little geekier with this stuff, we keep attracting more of these geekier people that love to drink, geek out on this stuff. So of course we have just straight up tequila. If you don't come in here and think you have to be a tequila expert to enjoy tequila here, we have a great tequila menu or agave spirit menu because it's agave based, right? So. But we're having a lot of fun with that, and so this stuff is really, really cool. And he goes really into depth here on the Siempre Vales and telling a lot of information on it. And David also does a couple other brands. So we have a couple of other stuff because he actually travels down to Mexico and meets with families. And this is Raicilla. This is a mezcal here. So he actually goes down, it's under the Mezonte line, M-E-Z-O-N-T, Mezonte. So he goes down and meets with families and families that have really small, production, a lot of times just for their family or for their village or for their mezcal bar that they have down there. A lot of mezcaleros have their own mezcal bars, so they can sell their mezcal locally to the community. So he'll go down and buy several hundred liters of stuff from these small families that have been doing it for 5-6 generations, and buy some amazing product like this and bring only back 400 or 500 bottles to the U.S. market. And so we've been lucky enough to pick up a lot of these. And these will say on the back here, the Mezcalero, the one who produces it. It'll say how it's extracted. This has wooden mallets on the back there in Spanish. So some really cool stuff. Again, Raicilla was illegal until 2009. They told the locals in Mexico, the officials, the government, that they were using the roots of the agave plant, which weren't taxable, unlike the heads. That was sort of their version of moonshine down there. So some really cool stuff coming out of the agave spirit world. So this one tells you the Mezcalero who made it, and all the production extracted by a wooden mallet, they call it, a wooden mallet for the extraction. So that's it on this old version, the ancestral version of tequila. And again, you're not going to really find it out much at many places, and it's really cool stuff. So we have it here in stock, ready to go. And we have, which is really cool, we have both of their versions from San Rivales. So really, really cool stuff. That's it, folks. Hope you're having a great day. Enjoy. Share this with a tequila drinker or a mezcal drinker. And check out our mezcal list on our website, romantimebistro.com. Everybody have a great day. Talk to you later.